Hi guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Nick Egan Times. We have an awesome guest on this episode. We have Oliver Phillips. Oliver is a former English international rugby player and captain who had a successful career in both the 15-man game side and a sevens-a-side game. Oliver played in the Olympics version of the game and the rugby sevens. Oliver captained the English sevens side, was named Sevens World Rugby Player of the Year in 2009. Oliver played with 4 clubs in both England and France, where he was voted Overseas Player of the Year in 2011. Oliver set a rugby 4 times Guinness World Records at the North Pole and Mount Everest. Oliver is a consultant, a broadcaster with Sky Sports and Eurosports, and has set up his own business, Optimist Performance. Welcome, Ollie, and thanks for coming on this podcast.
Mate, great to be here. Thanks for having me, pal.
Pleasure. How's it all going over in the UK?
Well, mate, it's lockdown life, so yeah. At the moment, it's a bit of Groundhog Day, to be honest with you. But it's but it's fine. At least everybody's sort of safe, well. Just trying to do what we can do in order just to get through this sort of period of time, mate. But everyone seems to be sort of rallying around it now, and there seems to be a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, which is all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see there's light in the tunnel. How have you handled, obviously, the pandemic, and how has it affected your life personally since it's begun?
I mean, we've been well. I mean, it has impacted. So when my brother unfortunately had a stroke due to it, he caught COVID, but is fine. So that was also a bit of a scare for him and for the family, and psychologically he's I think it's more the psychological effects of it all now. He's quite a young lad. He's 35, fit young bloke. So I think it was a bit of a shock to him. So I guess we've had a bit of direct impact from it. But I think in general, my overall reflections on it are that human beings are really resilient people, right? I think it's brilliant how we can get through and come together as a community and make sure we sort of tackle this and obviously it's not without pain points, and there's obviously the odd moments where it's a real struggle. But I think what's also made really clear is just how much we enjoy people's company, the community, etc., because I think that's what I miss the most is it's just that human interaction, right? Just seeing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my wife, I love my kids, but I quite like to see someone else other than them every day. So it's just that really, just having a bit of crack with some other people and just missing that community and those sort of bonds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're social creatures just generally, so great insights and thanks for sharing that. All right, let's just jump straight into it, mate. For the listeners, who is Ollie Phillips?
Yeah, who is Ollie Phillips? From a professional perspective, you've given a fairly decent rundown in terms of my career. But in summary, 12 years as a professional rugby player, 11 of those as an international rugby player, and 6 of those as a captain of my international rugby team. And then took on a whole series of challenges that was sailing around the world, going up Mount Everest, North Pole, cycle across America, all for charity. So we did all that we've raised just over £2.5 million now for charity, and picked up 4 Guinness World Records along the way. And I've been amazing. I've been a director at PricewaterhouseCoopers for the last 6 years, and I lead everything that we do with government, and a particular department in government called DCMS, so it's Department of Culture, Media and Sport. So, on a professional side, that's sort of what I do. I have a company that specialises in one-to-one executive coaching and the sort of leadership, teamwork, performance behaviour stuff. That's called Optimist Performance. That's all around how do you help basically optimise your people, your own behaviours, because that's a bit of a passion point for me. I really enjoy that side of it and the coaching element of it. And away from all the boring work stuff, I am husband to an incredible wife, and who's literally the brains of our outfit, and we've got 2 amazing young daughters, 2 young girls, Lily Mae and Nia. So that's my off-field.
Terrific. Talk to me about growing up and what it was like growing up in the UK and how it's all transpired to obviously getting into professional rugby.
for me, I imagine it started like most kids. I was a sort of fairly boisterous young lad, and I think my parents were like, what the hell do we, what the hell do we do? Stop him just bashing his brother or whatever else like that. So, rugby was the perfect outlet. I was useless at football, 2 left feet, so as a result of that, they probably only want to put me in goal. So I think I started at the age of 4, just at my local mini rugby club, turning up every Saturday or Sunday, running around, just expending a load of energy and having a lot of fun. And to be honest, rugby was always that for me. In fact, it was always that all the way through, even when I was a professional. But I was just fortunate enough that, as I got a bit older, someone else would pay me to do that. So that was even more of a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. It's great insight. Thanks for saying that. What have you done much travelling? Obviously, I know you've done it for the rugby, but have you done it any personally? Like, what's your favourite place to go in Europe? Obviously, you're so close to it. Where are the places you've been, and what's your favourite places to have gone to?
Yeah, I mean, I've done absolutely tons. So I've been really fortunate around that one, mainly because of rugby being the initial conduit that all happened through. Travelling around on the World Series as part of the World 7 Series, so going pretty much to every continent. And then I think the benefit of being based in the UK and being based near London is the fact that you do get to, you don't realise it, right? But there's so many places that you can visit, culturally, so many different experiences that you can have. So yeah, I mean, I've been all over Europe. And then when I retired, I took on this race to go and do sail around the world, and as a result of that was an amazing experience that meant that I'd fully circumnavigated the globe. We sailed 46,000 miles. We were at sea for 11 months. So it started in London and finished in London. So yeah, that was an incredible experience to have. And through the adventures, they've taken me to places that, well, to be honest, I would never go on a holiday retreat. The North Pole is probably not the most relaxing of holidays to go to, or cycling across the whole of America was an amazing experience and a brilliant way to see a country. I rode a rickshaw across the whole of India, so again another phenomenal way of just seeing these beautiful places from a different perspective, if you like, just a different lens. If I went on holiday, I'd probably go to one place in a standard hotel, and it would sort of be a lovely experience, but fairly sort of one-dimensional. Whereas doing it some of these ways, cycling across them or riding across them on a rickshaw, it's maybe not as comfortable, but it's certainly a better experience, or at least you get to see more of the country.
Terrific. Thanks for sharing that. How was the sailing experience? That really interests me. Like, 11 months. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I'd never sailed before in my life, so I didn't really know what I was going into. And that was probably a bit of an error at the beginning. You should have probably paid a little bit more attention to understanding it all. But it came quite soon after my career end. I'd got a career-ending injury. I was sort of like figuring out what I do next. And this opportunity presented itself, and I thought, well, why not? This, should really leap on this. So I went and did it, and I was, like everything, right? At times it was really hard, and at times it was absolutely incredible. So I can't really fault it. I loved the whole experience. Some of the biggest, baddest oceans in the world were fairly tough. Don't get me wrong, but it was equally an amazing experience. I remember I used to love looking at a map or a globe, and I don't know, looking from South Africa to Australia, right, and being like, wow, we just, you drew a line. And I was like, wow, we just sailed across all of that. I used to just marvel at that. So, yeah, it was amazing, absolutely brilliant experience, and not one I would do again, but that's not because it was a bad one, but it was just such a huge emotional commitment, time commitment, and et cetera, et cetera. But if anyone ever asked me, would you do it, I would in a heartbeat tell them, get on that plane or get on that boat.
Awesome. All right, take us back to your rugby career. how was that? Obviously, you played in the Olympics, you played rugby sevens. How was that whole experience, and how did you enjoy your professional career playing rugby?
Oh, I mean, it was special, right? I mean, I think, as a kid growing up, you asked about sort of like, what did I want to do? And like, you always, I think, harbour these ambitions, right? To play for your country and to represent your country and play rugby professionally or whatever. And I mean, I wanted it and I really hoped to it and whatever else. But I think maybe as a kid, you don't necessarily always totally believe it, right? You just hope that all these things fall into place and it works out and whatever else. So I was really fortunate that it did work out for me. And yeah, it's just the most incredible experience to be paid to go and pursue your passion point and play a sport that you love and whatever else that, quite frankly, you probably play for free anyway. And yeah, and then to equally have the honour and privilege to then go and play for your country in front of 80,000 people in packed out stadiums and hear that national anthem and the sort of, and feel that sense of pride that you get just hearing that all play out. And it's kind of one of those sort of pinch yourself moments of like, is this really happening? Like, am I stood here in a final with whatever it is, 60,000 people around me, wearing an England jersey, being captain, watching a haka? Just those are the sort of things that I sort of dreamed of as a kid, and it was actually happening, and it was a reality. So I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved it. The only thing I would say, if there was one regret, was I didn't love it enough. Like, I didn't immerse myself in it enough and really just revel in the whole thing, because you're always thinking about, which when you're in the moment and when you're a professional sportsman or whatever, all you're thinking about is like performance and managing this and like how do you make sure you get the victory and keep your place in the team and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And obviously this is a iconic moment for you that you sort of dreamt of for 20 years. So I really enjoyed it, but I just I think you could enjoy it more, right? You could just really immerse yourself in it and just become and just revel, if you like, in the magnitude of what's happened.
That's amazing. Great insights. You've obviously had a great career. What is your best memories of it? So is there any specific memory that, obviously you touched on the national anthem and stuff, is there a specific memory you could go back in time that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite moments of all time was basically doing something that an England side had never ever managed to do, which was go to New Zealand, the tournament that was in New Zealand, which was Wellington at the time, but go to New Zealand and win in New Zealand, right? That was the first thing, right? So it was the first. England had never been out of the group stages, and we managed to get to a final. This is in 2009. So we got to the final, and then to make it even better, we were playing against New Zealand. So to beat New Zealand in their own backyard in front of 50,000 people in the cake tin in Wellington. Yeah. And then equally, we went 17-0 down in that game. So to come back and win that game 19-17 on the hooter was just, I still remember it vividly now. I can, it's right in front of me. Every hair on the back of my neck stands up on end and it was the most incredible experience of my life to do that. England haven't done that since, and yeah, that was a special moment, right? The coming together of an incredible group of people, a phenomenal team that we believed we could do something extraordinary that no England side had ever done before, and we did it, and that was amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me about Optimist Performance. Optimist Performance. How'd that come about, and how's that going?
Yeah, so Optimist Performance is basically centered around human performance, right? Optimizing performance behaviors, building on team effectiveness, high performance cultures, all of that sort of stuff within teams, organizations, people, developing future leaders, nurturing talent. And it came about because when I finished my rugby career and I sailed around the world, initially it was just a few people sort of saying, look, would you come and tell a few war stories, after dinners and whatever else like that, and make everyone feel good and do a bit of an energizer and a bit of a motivating session, which I loved and it was fun. But I'll be honest, I got a bit bored quite quickly of sort of regaling just my tales and living off the past. I wanted it to be like, I wanted the past and the things I did in it previously to I don't know, galvanize and support something moving forward, actually have some sort of rationale behind them. And so, what came out of it was an opportunity to start exploring how we did it, how we built successful teams, how we developed an incredible culture within our group each time that was a group of collaborative, different, diverse people, but that all came together and really worked towards one common goal and reveled in it in the process, right? We delivered and we really, really enjoyed it. And I think people wanted insight into that. And so now we've been going nearly 7 years now. So, we've now evolved into a lot more than that. But we will do a lot of the diagnostic stuff with people, sort of analyzing where they are, what sort of behavioral types they're sort of prone to, because a lot of these things are around self-awareness. So how cognizant are you of your own tells and the things that you do and how those feelings and emotions influence your own decision making. So there's a lot of that. And then it's about playing back afterwards. Okay, well, so what does that mean? What does that mean for us? What does that mean for our business? What does that mean for me as an individual? What areas am I super strong at? So what are my real super strengths so that I can play to those strengths? And where are the areas that I need some support, some help, some coaching in order to make sure that as a group, as a collective, we outperform against expectations. So, that's what Optimist Performance is all about.
Amazing. What are your passions and hobbies outside of everything busy schedule that you do? So what do you like to do in your downtime?
Well, I mean, I'm still incredibly active, mainly because I just need that. I need that for my own personal sanity more than anything else. So, my knees are now shot of having, done 12 years of professional rugby, so my running days are done kind of thing. But I'm the classic sort of middle-aged man in lycra these days, the old mammal as they call them. So I quite like going out for a bike ride from time to time because it's the one way I can sort of get outside and have fun. So I love my training, is what I'm saying. But then, I really love seeing the world, right? You're asking about COVID. That's what I miss the most, right? Adventure, travel, exploration is in my own DNA, and it's something I desperately love and loved. And I want to do with my family and my kids and whatever else that inquisitive, adventurous side of life. So I just love travel. I love seeing new places, new people, different cultures, learning about the history of certain things. So that's my my passion point in terms of what really gets me up in the morning and motivates me. Away from what I do from a 9 to 5, I'm building a sort of property portfolio as well at the moment, just because I love that insight. I'm sort of building a passive income and everything else like that. So I'm sort of pursuing that, if you like, away from the business arena of what I do on a day-to-day job.
Awesome. Not getting too political here, but in your opinion, where do you see the United Kingdom generally positioned going into the future? And how do you think they've actually handled the pandemic of COVID?
Well, I'll be honest, it's not a job that I would have liked to have had at all, right? So, dealing with a deadly virus that's spreading like wildfire, that nobody really understands, it's challenging, right? And then you're trying to lead a nation and a country to protect people, protect lives, protect the infrastructure, protect jobs. That is not a job that I would particularly sign up to straight away, right? Because it's challenging, at the least. So I don't think it's fair to criticize or praise, right? I mean, there's always things that they could do better, and there's always things that they've done incredibly well. The fact that we've got 10 million people now vaccinated across the UK is brilliant, and that's all that really matters, right? That's all that really matters at the end of the day. Is like, look, how quickly are we moving towards a point whereby everybody is safe, everybody's well, and everybody can re-engage and get on with their lives. And that isn't for me just in the UK. That's globally, right? This is a global problem, and I think one of the most encouraging things, and then also some of the most discouraging things have been actually human reaction, right? Human behaviour, and it's mainly born out of fear, right? But you've seen moments where the world has come together and we've been incredibly collaborative and supportive of one another in tackling and defeating this sort of silent assassin that's difficult to trace and whatever else. And then, we've seen the other side, which has not been so positive, which has been, a bit of desperation when there's a solution or whatever else like that. People sort of look after themselves. I'm all right, Jack. That kind of thing. So I think it's brought out the best and the worst in humanity, and if you like, that's what testing scenarios do for people. You're asking what Optimist Performance does. This is a case study at the moment. What's going on across the globe? This is a live case study around human performance, human behaviour. How do they react under pressure with an very ambiguous environment that nobody really understands that well? Yeah, but the important thing is how do you make people feel? How supportive are you in that sort of scenario? And then how do we provide a solution? So, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but I just think that it's challenging at best. Obviously, everyone's felt the repercussions, and everyone's trying to make the best of it as they can. I don't think anyone has got any necessarily a bad bone, or they want people to die or anything like that. They're just trying to juggle a million plates in the air at one time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's a great opinion and great insights into that. If you were 18 again and you could do things differently, what would you change?
I'd tell myself not to sweat too much about the small stuff. So particularly in my 20s, I would really worry about. Fear would actually consume me a lot in some of my decision making or play. Like not preparing correctly, or not doing all my extras, or not eating the right things, not sleeping enough. There would always be stuff that I would worry about. And a bit like I said earlier, I just would have told myself, look, just don't worry about it. Just enjoy it, right? Just enjoy the ride. Like really embrace what's in front of you. Throw all your energy and enthusiasm into it, and just see what comes out of it. Back your own talent, back your intuition, and go for it. The worst thing that can happen is that it stops, or you don't quite achieve the things you wanted to achieve. But at least you swung the bat, right? At least you've really had a go. Whereas if you panic about it the whole way through, and you let fear sort of cripple you and ultimately take control of you, you're never going to get to the end goal anyway, and you're never going to get full fulfillment, right? You're never going to, because even if you do succeed in doing it, you'll have been wrought with anxiety and worry that it won't be that enjoyable anyway. So I would definitely, I mean, I'm making it sound like my 20s were full of bleak worry, but that wasn't the case. But just in certain scenarios, just would have said, look, just go for it. Like, just don't think about things too much. Don't sweat the small stuff. Let's just go for it. Let's just really have a go. And if it doesn't quite work out, reassess, reflect. That's what experience is about, right? That getting it wrong is actually where you learn, right? And then you learn how to do it right after that.
Yeah, I feel inspired after that. Oliver, thank you for joining my podcast, mate. I do appreciate it. I wish you all the success with Optimist Performance and everything else you're doing in your busy schedule and life. Thanks again.
Top man, mate. Look, keep in touch. If anyone wants to reach out, just listening to the podcast or whatever else, obviously just on all the social media platforms, whatever else, just give me a shout.
Cool. Have a great day, mate.
Cheers, pal.